Welcome back, nerds and noobs, to another episode of the Help Desk Diaries. Last time we talked about turning it on and off again, not just for IT purposes, but for life as well. It's definitely something I wish I knew how to do before working in IT. Which brings us to today's episode, what I wish I knew about before working in IT. I was talking to Tabs McGee the other day at work, and I asked him this question. He said, I wish I knew that you constantly have to stay up to date with everything and that IT is always evolving. First of all, he is so right. I wish I knew that too, so maybe I could have prepared myself a bit better for what was to come. But then again, how do you prepare yourself for constant change in an industry like this? That's a great question. I don't have the answer yet, but I will find it in a later episode with maybe some IT veterans. Yeah, change is hard no matter what it is, and it's something you'll have to get used to in this industry. You'll be constantly learning, troubleshooting, experimenting, and then adapting to new tech. It may be complex, but it's part of the fun. However, if you can't keep up, you may suffer a bit. We all do though, so it's nothing to stress about too much. You know what? I think Aristotle once said, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. This is something I wish I knew before starting in IT. The more I learnt during IT, the more I felt I was incompetent and incapable. But I also learnt that you don't need to know everything, and you never will. Truth is, you have to Google a lot for this job, and you aren't just going to become a computer genius after 1 year of IT support. The real skill of it all is knowing how to troubleshoot and figure things out by starting out not knowing it at all. This job, it's a lot of trial and error, and it's okay to make mistakes along the way too. I wish I knew that, like, me clicking the wrong button and potentially deleting some data was not the end of the world when I started, because we had backups and everything. But anyway, anytime I made the smallest mistake, I would freak out. But that's when my coworkers would give me a reality check and always assured me. Specifically, my check would say, trust me, that's nothing. I once did this. And then he'd go on and tell me about how he turned a server off or something that caused everyone to go into panic. But then he didn't get in trouble for it because, again, he was troubleshooting and it was all part of the trial and error, except we were the error this time. But anyway. But I guess when errors do happen, that's when the soft skills are needed, and it's one of the things I actually did know before starting in IT from my brothers. And I think soft skills is half the reason I got my job, not just because I'm a personality. Hi, guys. But they do matter more than you think. Patience, staying calm under pressure, asking good questions, talking to people in general, it's the biggest part of the job. So when people say, I too don't know how to talk, or their job must be so easy because they don't have to deal with people, just computers, I cannot stress how wrong they are. Sure, we may be introverted or nerdy, but who do you come crawling to when shit goes wrong? Us, the support. The amount of patience needed for this job is also something I wish more people knew about when starting out. If you're doing help desk, at least, I know this is the case, you'll have to get used to it. I mean, I've been on phone calls for over 2 hours explaining things to people, and it's just, and meetings too, but I don't mind it at the end of the day. It only sucks when the customers or clients are mean, rude, or just impatient with us. But we do understand you're under the pump as well. We all are. But like I said, why don't I mind it? It fills up my day. And honestly, if it's a medium to slow day, that's a good thing. The next thing I wish I knew is that if you do have a slow day or are waiting for people to get back to you, finding things to do and filling in your time is hard. I mean, for my job, we have to time out our day every hour pretty much. And yeah, like you have to write down what you're doing, or at least charge it to the specific client, which is hard if it's a slow day sometimes, because then you're like, oh, what do I put down? I've been searching the web for like 20 minutes. But yeah, it's like, at least for me, when you constantly have to do things in IT, it's just, yeah. So I definitely recommend creating like a to-do list of things you can do when it's quiet, like whether it's cleaning out files, clearing out emails, checking and updating user accounts and groups, or just cleaning the office space. Like, guys, can you please clean your coffee cups and tea mugs in the office? I don't want to see that stuff. I don't want to see it. I mean, I'm guilty of it sometimes though, so I can't really talk. But yeah, there's quite a bit to do. Like, even when it's quiet, it's just about choosing what to do that can be the trouble. Which brings me into my next point. I wish I knew you needed to always be able to effectively prioritize and categorize tickets. Now, with each company and business, they should have a matrix for you to follow, at least roughly, but discerning for yourself in your own tickets is a whole other thing. So, like, for example, do you do the job that's going to take a whole day, or a job that'll be 15 minutes first? Remember, it shouldn't, well, in my case, it shouldn't be about what you'd prefer. It's about what you should do or prioritize. So is the job that's going to take a whole day urgent in comparison to the 15-minute job, or vice versa? Like, for the people who love a challenge and get indulged and spend hours on a specific job because you have to do research and analytics or whatever. You need to be able to choose. Otherwise, you will get stuck and freeze and ignore both until you like get told you have to do it, and you don't want to have that. I'm speaking from experience. And yeah, IT, I guess, feels like fight or flight, but most of the time it is freeze. So be careful not to choose freeze, because you might need someone to melt you out. The very last thing, sorry, I got a frog in my throat, guys. Very last thing I wish I knew before working in IT is how draining it can be sometimes, even when nothing is happening. Like, some days some days you won't get a breather between calls or tickets. You've got a manager from a different department basically screaming at you for help, while you're trying to put out a fire in a whole other like department. And it's just like, you can't, it's just, whoa. And then other days it's quieter, but your nervous system is still on edge, waiting for the next fix or fire or coffee you drank at 7 a.m., then 10 a.m., and then 3 p.m. like me. It's physiological warfare, especially when you're a people pleaser like me and try to help everyone and everything. You want to do it all, fix it all, and make everyone happy. But here's what I've learned. You can't. And you're no good to others if you're completely fried. So please take that lunch break you missed for helping Debbie fix her Outlook, or step outside. Breathe. You're allowed to slow down, even in tech when everything's constantly updating. Anyway, that is the list, or at least what I've remembered and wrote down throughout the week. There's honestly so much I wish I knew before starting out, but at the same time, maybe not knowing is part of the experience. You learn by doing. You grow by making a user angry because of a mistake. And eventually you realize you're not a complete noob anymore. You're just a slightly more caffeine-addicted nerd who's now more capable, slightly better dressed, and ready to help out where they can and where they weren't before. So, whether you're thinking about getting into IT, or you're already in IT and just needed a reminder that you're not alone in feeling overwhelmed sometimes, I hope this episode helped. And to the random strangers who just listen to my podcast who aren't in tech and don't want to get into tech, welcome. I'm sure you can relate to some of this in your line of work, whether that's male-dominated industry or just any industry. I feel like we're all tired. But yeah, just remember, nerds and noobs, it's okay not to know everything. That's why we have Google, Teams chats to our favourite life-saving co-workers, and podcasts like this one. I'll catch you next time, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.